Hi there and welcome back to my channel, and yes, we're carrying on with the Casey Anthony trial, and the next witness is Katherine Sanchez. She works at the Amscot in Florida. They show a picture of the Amscot, the parking lot and the dumpster outside the Amscot. So we go to the 27th of June 2008. Katherine was working that day from 7 a.m. till 7 p.m. and she saw the white Pontiac Sunfire. It was parked right next to the dumpster. Now we all know this is Casey's car. So they show a picture marking where the car was parked and that the car was backed into the parking spot. She didn't see anyone at or near the vehicle. She says she didn't go near the vehicle, she just noticed it was there, and it was still there when she left, and it was still there the next morning when she went back to work. Katherine worked 7 a.m. till 2 p.m. on that day, the 28th, which was a Saturday. Katherine didn't see anyone near the vehicle that morning. She went to the vehicle and had a look and made a note of the tag number so she could report it. Katherine was checking around the car to see if there was any note to say that, the car had broken down and somebody would be coming back. There was no note. She remembers that the car was messy inside and a blanket on the back seat. Katherine called the Orlando Police Department non-emergency line to report a vehicle abandoned in the parking lot. They told her it had not been reported stolen. She then notified her compliance officer, who told her to wait one more day before calling the towing company. Katherine did not work the next day, Sunday the 29th. She was back at work on Monday the 30th and the vehicle was still there, and she called the tow company. They came and towed the car, which Katherine observed them doing. She didn't smell anything but a dumpster smell near the car, because obviously it was parked next to the dumpster. Amscot does have surveillance cameras, but she doesn't manage those cameras and she doesn't have access to them. This is dealt in the main corporate office. The cross-examination, she smelt nothing apart from the regular dumpster smell near the dumpster. So, the next witness is Simon Birch. He lived in Orlando in 2006 to 2009. He worked at Johnson's Wrecker as the manager. He lived on the property in like a camper van, or what do you guys call it? Mobile home. For the period of time he worked there. On the 30th of June 2008, they got the Pontiac Sunfire from Amscot. When the car is brought to the yard, it is stored and the details are taken. The vehicles are separated in the yard depending on why they've been towed, such as private tows and law enforcement tows. They show a picture of Johnson's Wrecker. Simon didn't have contact with the car when it arrived. They show where the car was stored. It's where the blue dot is. It stayed there the entire time it was there, which was about 2 weeks. There is a time limit for how long vehicles can be stored there, when they will either be retitled so they can try and recoup some money back, or they just scrap it. The time limit is either 35 days or 90 days. On the third business day that the car has been in the yard, they send out a notification to the owners via certified mail. On the third or fourth day, he started to take more attention to the car to make a plan if it wasn't collected. He went and had a look around it. He couldn't get inside the vehicle, but they could only look around the windows, looking, see if there was anything in there. He didn't have the keys as he tried the doors and they were locked. As he was looking around the vehicle, there was no smell until he put his hand up to the glass, to look through the window, and he did smell a fairly strong odour emanating from the vehicle. Now, he's been in the towing business for almost 30 years, apart from 2 years when he worked for a refuse garbage company. So he says he's been exposed to a wide variety of odours. He has experienced towing or processing a vehicle that has had a dead body in it on several occasions. He did have another vehicle where somebody had committed suicide inside it and they hadn't been found for a while, and he did smell that odour. Through his experience, he can tell the difference between decomposition and rotting garbage. It's a very unique and distinctive smell. The smell he smelled from the car was consistent with the smell of decomposition. He says because the car was sealed, the smell was minimal, but it was still there. The instant flash in his mind was that he knew what the smell was, but he couldn't see anything by just looking through the windows. At that point, he didn't do anything else and made his decision that they would follow the process of waiting and then applying for the title to the car. Now, you could possibly argue that if he did smell decomp, why didn't he phone law enforcement? I mean, I probably think I would. So, on the 15th of July 2008, George and Cindy came to collect the car. Simon spoke to both of them after he'd heard them getting agitated with the receptionist. He came out of the office to help and spoke to Cindy, who was agitated and very upset, which to him, he says it's quite common. She wanted to know why it was so expensive and why she hadn't been notified earlier, and generally being agitated about the situation, which again to Simon is pretty normal. Simon went through the dates because I think he thought it was rather a long time after receiving the car in the tow yard that they received the letter. And they worked out that, it had been 4th of July weekend and holidays and everything, and the mail just probably got held up. And plus, George and Cindy had been out of town also. So Simon took George to the car and they show the route that Simon took with George. When Simon was taking George to the car, George apologised for his wife's outburst. He said they were under a lot of stress. He apologised profusely, but he was very calm and humble. Simon said to George that they were used to it. George also said that he hadn't seen his granddaughter for a long time and she was missing, and his daughter wouldn't tell him where she was. Simon just thought he was venting and just let him just carry on with it basically. George also said that they, as in George and Cindy, would probably get divorced over this. See, it's just this dynamic is not good. So, Simon asked George if he had the keys and he said yes. He thought George would just get in the car and leave, but when George got in the car, it wouldn't start. As the door was open, the smell that Simon had smelt previously came out more intently and potent. Simon said it was eye-opening. In the back of Simon's mind, he said that's the smell of decomposition, but he didn't say it out loud. He didn't want to say anything to add to an already stressful situation, and he didn't feel like it was his place to do so. I mean, if he smelt it, George obviously smelt it. So he stood by the vehicle while George was trying to start the car. Simon peered into the car while George was trying to start it and he saw the gas gauge was empty, so Simon told him it might be out of gas. George said he'd already brought gas with him, so they went back and got it. Simon says it was an old kind of gas can, a round metal one, and it had seen better days. We've already seen this in previous pictures. He didn't notice if it had tape on it. No other doors on the car had been opened other than the driver's door. Simon saw nothing in the passenger side door that might have explained the smell that was coming from the car. At some point, Simon suggested the trunk be opened. George had the key and opened it. Simon was stood next to George as they opened the trunk, and the odour was even more stronger, and he says a few flies flew out. And they noticed a standard white garbage bag in there. There was nothing else in there that stood out. They looked in the garbage bag. Simon can't remember who opened it, but he thinks they more or less did it together. And from what he can remember, he saw a pizza box, some letters, but nothing really to create that smell. It was a quick look and they didn't really rummage around the bag, and Simon offered to dispose of the bag. Simon threw it over the fence so it wasn't that heavy, and he would pick it up as he walked back through. George thanked him and got back in the car and started it up. Simon told him which way to go out of the yard. The cross-examination. Simon doesn't deal with when the notification letters actually get sent out, so the only way he could explain why the letter had been late getting to Cindy and George's house was because of the 4th of July holiday weekend and the fact that they'd been away. Now, they start refreshing Simon's mind as to what order they went in with respect to either trying to start the car or opening the trunk first, and they did in fact open the trunk first. And he says it's not very common that people turn up with their own gas cans full of gas. He said it was maybe about 5 minutes they were stood at the trunk before they went and got the gas. He wasn't with George long throughout the whole process. Simon would never have let anyone drive away in a vehicle that he had thought there had been a homicide in, even though it had decomp smell. His company did in fact tow the vehicle again after Casey was arrested, but not to his yard. Simon did inform the authorities about the smell after he learned of this. One of his employees told him whose car it was, but he still didn't inform the police because he didn't know what the situation was. He did see the coverage on the TV, so it's, I agree that, you would have informed the police about the smell, especially even more so after knowing that it had been towed again and everything else. Police didn't come and take a statement from Simon until the 24th of July 2008, 9 days after George and Cindy had collected the car. Simon had seen on the news that one of the issues in the case was the smell from the trunk. George had told him that the car had been at the Amscott parking lot for 3 days. So the redirect. The notification letter that the Anthonys received about the car will have more than likely had the address of where it was towed from. Simon did call law enforcement before he gave his statement to tell them about the garbage bag that he'd disposed of out of the trunk because he thought he might still be on the property. He went and looked. It had gone. When the garbage bag had been removed from the trunk, the smell didn't appear to go with the bag. The recross, when Simon was talking to law enforcement on the 24th of July, he actually told them about the pizza box that he had heard on the TV, when previously he said he saw it in the garbage bag. He believed he saw it there, but he says it could be in his mind from seeing it on TV after the event. He can't 100% say it was definitely in there. He says seeing a pizza box inside a garbage bag wasn't significant enough for him to remember back then, which is fair enough, but that smell of decomp obviously stuck in his mind. So there we go. I will see you again in the next video with more witnesses. Until then, bye for now.